What's up, dudes? Welcome back to another episode of Rhomas Men's Team. Pretty simple. We are a group of guys helping each other make progress towards each other's goals. If you're new to the channel, awesome and welcome. If you want to help support the channel and join our pro team, head over to romasteam.com/pro, where you can contribute to us on a donation basis. We also give you access to exclusive content, mastermind groups, etc., etc. So anyway, hope you enjoy this episode, and we'll see you on the team.
Scratch me.
Shit.
What up, dudes?
What's up, man?
What's up, brother? We're here, man. We are here. Like I said, I was telling Wes, sorry for the later start. My babysitter came around 11:07, and I had to take a dump. That's the one thing when you have kids, dude. It's like you can take a dump with them in the room with you, but it sucks so bad.
It's gotta be weird.
Dude, and they start, I mean, you get over the weirdness of it quickly. It's just the thing that sucks is like then they'll leave the room and you're like pinching one off and you're like, come here. Sucks. Sucks. Or they want to sit on your lap the whole time you poop, and that's just like, it sucks, dude. It's worse.
Well, I shared a Mr. McCusker story last night. I want to fact check it to see if it's true. So we were out and there was, there's a person in our group that had a baby and they had to go change a diaper, and I was like, my friend, and it was like, it was a challenge between, okay, is the husband going to do it or is the wife going to do it? And I was like, I have a buddy who was born, he was one of 6, and his father has still never changed a single diaper in his life. Is that true? Is Mr. McCusker never changed a diaper in his life?
So he claims that, but I was talking to Uncle Jack recently, and he was saying, like, he said he has 10 kids, and he's like, I think I changed like 10 diapers and all of them were pee diapers. But he's like, you change. And the funny part, he was like, yeah, I mean, diapers are expensive. He's like, you got to change them like 2 or 3 times a day. And I'm like, dude, you got to change them like 12 times a day. What are you talking about?
That's so awesome. Yeah. So that's true baller status.
It's last of a dying breed, bro. It's last of a dying breed.
That is for sure. Yeah. I mean,
it's also crazy.
Sorry,
it's a crazy way to hold it. It's a pretty crazy way to hold it down.
Oh yeah. How do you feel about? It seems to me like there's been more of a cross-pollination of roles in society, especially with masculine and feminine, and it seems like that bleeds over into mother, father. How much should stay stable versus like this should be the man's role and this should be the female's role, and how much should be blended and kind of up for negotiation?
Dude, I mean, it's tough. I think it depends on people, but I like the 2 people and their kind of things. But I would say from my experience and talking to a couple other people, there's like a level of like comfort and security mothers can give kids that dads can't. At least when they're real baby, like when they're little babies. Like when I go to put Maya to sleep, it takes me a while. Like it takes her a while to fall asleep with me. And if Brittany does it, she falls asleep in like 2 fucking seconds.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there are things like that. But yeah, it's funny, man. Like in my experience, when you have these discussions, especially with like a wife, girlfriend, if you bring up gender roles and be like, this is it, this is what I need to do. There's some who are probably like, oh yeah, cool. A lot of women kind of buck against it. But if you just kind of let the situations play out, they kind of, in my experience, they kind of naturally gravitate and kind of like, dude, like I take out, like we never had a discussion about who takes out the trash. I just take out the trash. And when we go somewhere, she packs our suitcase because like I'll pack like an idiot. So it's like, but if I were to be like, pack my suitcase, she would be like, no. So
got it.
But yeah, I mean, dude, it's a discussion, dude, because they'll slap them on. They'll tell you to like, oh, man up, blah blah blah. But as soon as you're like, all right, well, what's your equivalent? Yeah, what's your equivalent? They're like, I don't have one. And it's like, all right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's tough. It's a tough thing to bring up. I mean, it's something. It's weird because I feel like some women are really into the classic roles and like it simplifies things. And then there's some women, you bring it up, bro, you might as well be like shooting toxic fucking venom in their face. They're just like, bah.
Yeah. I wonder how that plays out at a macro level. I've got to assume that what Jordan Peterson talks about is in general true. He said, he's like, basically, let me tell you why like there's quote inequality in the workplace, like at higher levels and so on. He's like, because women in large part are smarter right? They will value, for the most part, value relationships more than they do a certain amount of money for them. And he said it's because of a select few percentage of irrational but highly competitive males who want to compete at such a high level in business that they're well beyond the point of utility of money, but that's just their game.
Yeah.
And respectfully, I would say, like, for example, your dad. Not that he's irrational, but your dad, when I was talking to your dad, he loves the game of business. He does not, if you don't mind me saying, he does not have to work anymore. It's not about the working anymore, but he loves that. Versus it seems like your mother loves the nurturing side, like the family organization side, like it seems to me like all that kind of stuff. And it seems like it really worked out. And I can name 100 other examples that I've seen of successful families that do have those clearly defined roles, whether implicit or explicit, that seem to work. Yeah,
man. Like I said, it all depends on the people, because it's like there's some people who, like, it, like, that worked for back then. I think now it's good to have kind of like a kind of foundation going like that, but like to just not change diapers on the principle of like that's for girls is, I think, fucking stupid. Back then I'm like, whatever.
It's gotta be logistically difficult.
It's so stupid, dude. It's such a bad idea. But yeah, to have some sort of understanding where there's like, look, man, like, I'll do this, you do that. Like, even, and they can, like, for me, this is what I would say. What I've done is, like, there's certain ones that dudes will get hung up on, almost in a similar way of like women. If women go like, I'm not supposed to do that, or like, that's not just for me. There's dudes who will be like I used to do this too. We put together IKEA furniture, and I'm like, I'm supposed to be doing this, and Brittany's 40 times better at putting IKEA furniture together. She loves it, dude. So like, I've been able to be like, all right, dude, you're the IKEA furniture master, knock yourself out. But there's certain things that just, that are my realm. But again, it's like letting go like that. IKEA furniture, I'm like, you do it, man. I'll hold the belt. I'll hold the bolts. And she's actually fucking nasty at putting IKEA furniture.
Yeah.
So sometimes you can kind of be flexible, but at the same time, like, yeah, man, to just kind of go. I know people who try to go along with it, like there's absolutely no truth to that, and it's like, no, dude. When kids come, especially, it becomes way more pronounced. Because like my brothers, like when they get hurt, they're like, fuck off, I want my mom. If no one else is there but you, they'll be like, okay, cool. But like if Brittany's there, she's just like, yeah, buzz off. I need my mom.
Yeah. So. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, and I think from what I'm hearing you say, there's not necessarily rigid rules, but there's rigid roles, but there's primary roles.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just an urban legend that your father never changed a diaper, but I've got to imagine that at some point that is logistically either impossible or like you guys are getting some sort of like, toxicity put in your system because your dad just doesn't want to change your diaper even though you're down the shore somewhere or something.
It wasn't even, for real. No, it was like, he never came down the shore. He hated the shore. But
fair enough.
Stay home. But yeah, it's too crowded. But yeah, I mean, again, it's one of those things. It is a balance, but like I think the pendulum back then was way in one direction, and now people are trying to send it to the complete opposite, fucking wild direction of like, there's just no difference at all, and it's like, dude, and my friend Cindy Gant was like, especially when you have kids, like girls are doing little actions with their fingers from the times they're like little, like really small, like braiding and doing all this weird stuff. When it comes to like putting on baby clothes, and there's like so many little finger actions that like they just excel at it first, and it's crazy. But yeah, man.
Doesn't he have like 5 kids or something?
3. He's got 3.
Wow.
But close enough. But yeah, man, it's worth, in my opinion, this is what I would say, it's definitely worth having a discussion of like, what's our job here? Because dude, when they start waking up in the middle of the night, you need a system. Otherwise, it's just you going like, both of you swear like, I did it last time, and it's like, no, I did it last time. It's like, get up. So So the system I've worked out is like, I'll go, all right, we'll let her, this is all just, I guess, just like stuff about having kids, but even still, just having a relationship is like, you need to function, in my opinion, to have it, you need to function with some form of like implicit agreement. Otherwise it just turns into like people arguing, or just somebody just dominating the other side and the other person just going along with it and becoming resentful. But what I do is I go, I'll get up But like if I can't get her down, I'm tagging you in. Like I'll do it now, and you can get your sleep, and you might just be able to fall asleep. But I can go over the radio and be like, Britt, get in here, and then she'll come in and put her down. Like last night, perfect example. Rocked her for like 25 minutes, no dice, and then Brittany just came in, finished her off in 2 minutes. So
got it. Interesting.
That's teamwork. It's like I can get up and I don't mind sitting there for a while. I'll sit there for like 30 minutes because I do it honestly as like a meditative exercise. Because dude, when it's 4 in the morning, you want to go to sleep so bad, and your mind starts going like, what the fuck? And just to sit there and be like, I'm good. And just, just sit there and literally take your time to meditate in the morning under a weird circumstance. And then it's like, then you get relieved. And dude, I swear to God, within like, I'll be in the room for 30 minutes. Brittany will come back in. And like, once she tags me out, she's back in 5 to 7 minutes max. And it's just like,
it's cool to see, because I think we can all relate to this. Our parents kind of tell us like, oh, you have no idea what I did for you. And it's like, I don't know about you, but I've been wildly dismissive of that. Not disrespectfully, but it's like I can't even comprehend. And now watching friends like yourself going through this, it's like, dude, when I have a child, like I will, it seems like I will have to do a lot for them, like wake up a lot for them. As soon as they are cognizant of this, like I'm going to make sure they know the tab. It's like, you owe me, right? You for sure owe me. It's just fascinating how much work actually goes into it. And it seems like you can't even comprehend. I still can't even comprehend it, but now being optically able to see is like, holy shit, man. Yeah. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is. It's like, I mean, you start looking at your life differently, where it's like right now, I used to never plan like my week, and now like I have like 2 to 3 year chunks like mapped out where it's like, well, like if we have another kid, it's like, all right, well, now that I know what that entails, it's I can say like, yeah, I can't really go anywhere for 2 years, and like like just knowing that and being like that, and you're like, okay, totally fine, but then I'll start kind of mapping out around that, and it's like, yeah, it kind of dawned on me. We're sitting there. It was my brother Kevin's getting married. He had like a really low key bachelor party. We all went out and ate to some place in Kennett Square. And I don't know what made me think of this. I'm sitting there, and one of my cousins was talking about like building a house, like a house he always wanted. And it's kind of morbid of me, but in my head he's like designing it, and in my head I was like, that sounds cool and all, but like, fuck, man, we're in our 30s, you'll finish it, and what are you going to live there for like 30 more years and just die? And that was just my private thought. And I'm like, that's kind of morbid. That's kind of morbid. And in my head it was like, and maybe this doesn't make sense, but it has to do with having kids, but it's like, when you live to solely please yourself, it doesn't compute in the end, because all your plans go, but yeah, then I die, and you're like, that sucks. But if you live for other people, it computes, because you go, yeah, but then they get to enjoy the house in perpetuity, and it's like, I enjoyed it for a while, but it doesn't just end with me, because I'm not strictly living for myself. And like, if you have kids, I think they really tune that up in you somehow. They just take that knob, and like, you start kind of living for other people in a way that's like, you're actually like literally is in like getting up at 3:30 in the morning when you'd rather sleep, and just sitting there and being like, all right, well, my sleep's fucked up for 2 years, and you just accept it. But I give you guys credit, especially well, especially because I think of like your cousin Pat. He's got 5, right? That, like, because that's not 2 years, right? You're arguably 10 plus. Yep. Yeah, man.
Yep. Just not going to sleep for the next decade. Like that
or you just you tighten up discipline and just be like, cry it out. I'm going to bed. Which again, people go back and forth on. But once you have 5, it's like you have no choice. You're like, look, man, you're getting with the program. Also, I was reading, John, when you live for your kids, you put undue pressure on them before they even understand what they're on this planet for. Yeah, I would disagree with that, man. It depends. There's living for them, and then there's like living through them. And if you're living through them, it's like, I feel like that's when you're expecting something out of them. But if you can very much, in my opinion, get a lot of pleasure out of like, you're doing stuff within your kind of wheelhouse, but have it in the back of your head where you're kind of going to leave something for people after you. Like when you're gone, you have this thing that people can enjoy. And I think I hear what John's saying. It's like, yeah, you can do that. Like I'd be like, I'm signing you up for modeling. I'm signing you up for the Mickey Mouse Club. You're going to be a fucking, like there's that side of it. But and again, it's like you have to.
You're getting an insight into Matt's childhood.
That you have to do it out of love. That's the difference. It's like if you're doing it like, I'm doing all this for you. Yeah, you can build a ton of resentment. But if you're just like, it doesn't matter what you do. Here's what I'm doing, and I'm setting you up, and hopefully I can, kind of get you on track. But for me, that was just it was kind of funny to me to think about that, of how just when you're purely in it for yourself, it doesn't compute in the end. It just, for me at least, maybe people could figure that out, but it's like that's always the main bummer where I'm like, yeah, but then I die, and I'm like, damn it sucks.
How much of an obligation do you feel it is to live the requests that you have of your children? Like, I gotta imagine there's a whole bunch of people out there say, oh, you're going to join this and you're never going to quit. Meanwhile, the majority of parents growing up through their lives quit like almost everything.
You're saying like how far do you take it, you're saying?
Well, like, so speaking for me, one of the motivators that I have on my mental models list is I will not tell my future son, I cannot have a daughter, no disrespect, but I will not tell my future son to follow through or to take risks if I myself have not done that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So much of my behavior now is like, even with like jiu-jitsu, it doesn't matter whatever it is, like, or like risking things. One of my motivator, because I'm gonna follow through this or through to the end, because I know that I will tell my future son to see things through to the end, and I will not tell him that if I can do it myself.
Yeah, you're kind of breaking up there a little bit, but I hear what you're saying. Like, to what extent do you? You're basically saying you have to kind of show them. You're not going to ask them to do things that you don't do.
Well, yeah, and I'm asking, and am I still breaking up, or can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a certain element. I see it all the time with parents. Like, oh, go clean your room. It's like, your room's not even clean. Right? I think oftentimes we can get attracted to this idea that, oh, just kind of in them what to do, what perfect vision is of a human, but you are not following your own advice. And I personally hate that. Like, absolutely hate that.
Yeah, there's the the dude is actually really funny. I used to follow his stuff a lot. The dude Wes Watson, who was the guy who was in like the California prison system, and he's jacked. He's like just swollen out of his mind. But he did have a good point about this, about how like people would write him asking about how like kids weren't like my kids aren't listening to them, and he's like, yeah, because you're a fucking shitty example, and they're watching you, and like they of course they're not listening to you because like you don't blah blah blah. He's very very harsh about it, but it was basically that exact message. He's like, why would they? He's like, you probably shouldn't listen to yourself or blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I totally agree.
Yeah. Do as I say, not as I do.
Yep.
Yeah, interesting. And wonder.
Shit. Hold on, Wes. I'm going to kick you off and bring you back on here. Let me get that ball back on here. Give me 2 seconds. I think I re-invited Wes back on here. Also, too, let me... Yeah, and John, in terms of the thing, I mean, that's one way of looking at it. You for sure can say, like, hey, all this bad stuff can happen, and it's like, maybe. But I'm saying is you as the parent don't put all of that weird pressure where it's like, I'm doing this for you, I'm doing this for you, I'm doing this for you, but are more so just, like, happily taking that stuff on. There's a big difference between like doing it strictly to get something out of it or doing it in a way that's kind of like this is going to be tight. I'm obviously going to enjoy my life. I'm not going to like nail myself to a cross, but I'm also going to filter a lot of my decisions through a value system that is very cognizant of what am I leaving to whom. And again, not out of some like, this is a house I built, I want you guys to live in it to keep my memory, but be like, damn, I got kind of hooked up by the fact that like my parents and all my ancestors did shit for me to get me to like here where I am. Let me try to roll that ball forward a little bit, and like if they fucking sell my house, I don't give a shit. I just want these guys to enjoy life, instill them with the principles, don't burden them with a bunch of emotional baggage, and let them hopefully do the same thing for, us going forward. So, but yeah, man, I mean, you can turn it into all that stuff if you want. I'm saying it's not necessary. What up, bro?
Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Oh, cool. Sorry, man. I don't know what happened. I wasn't moving or anything.
That's all good. Dude, sometimes the internet just fucking disappears and it comes back.
So, yeah, I was just saying, you know, I'm not sure. I wonder in our own lives how much, not even with children or with everybody, how much we are implying or explicitly telling people they should be doing something in the office or whatever it is, and we are not fucking doing it. And I'm guilty of it too. But it's just, I think that's a toxic way of being and thinking.
Yeah, man. I mean, dude, I completely agree. And it's like, I've been doing the final meditation thing, and I'm really, I think that the theme that's emerging from it in the last one is like, how can you, as an individual, tap into a value system that goes beyond you, that you find so compelling that you don't mind pouring a ton of time and energy into it. And one of the because that gets into like the spiritual realm and religion, and if people, what I was thinking about, people who are irreligious, who don't like any of that stuff, and it happened, they did this a lot in the East with like the ancestor stuff, where like you can get, I think, the same benefit from starting to really think in that zoomed out perspective of like, you know, just imagining the stuff people had to go through to get you to where you are, and then like, how could I start to map my life out based on kind of my legacy for my family. You don't have to conquer the world, but it's like, how could I set myself up so like I'm leaving just information for my family? I could write stuff down, almost like a code of Hammurabi, where it's like, here was kind of my life story. Here's what I learned. Here's what I amassed going forward. Here's like, you know, use it however you want, because I'll be dead. Obviously can't do anything for it. But like, think about these things, you know, when you use them, and just like leaving, like imagine if you had stuff from like two of your grandfathers that was like all their life experience condensed into like little things that wrote, like most people weren't educated, so you don't have this. But as we're getting kind of educated, like that'd be I think if you did that seriously, I'd be surprised if you didn't come up with like really meaningful activities and tasks and like goals came out of that.
Now, would you go so far as to like literally have a family doctrine that says like, here's our 10 commandments for a family, and like, here's our values and so on, and then actually have almost Godfather style meetings, you know, or dinners with the family on a consistent basis to make sure you get the repetition in of those values?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think I think something like that would be awesome. I think you'd have to leave it open to like, you know, like you obviously can take them when you become of age. If I have some gaps, you can obviously fill them in, because, you know, it's like things have to kind of morph and change. But yeah, just being like, here's what I found. Like all I'm asking of you, again, if you don't want to do it, whatever, I can't force you, but just take this into the next frame of time. Like take this information, riff on it, do your thing, and just keep this thing rolling going forward. It'd be helpful, I think, if you're a younger person, tap into that. And, you know, and as a younger person becoming an older person, that is a really tight lifelong project that I think people would find tremendous amount of value and meaning doing.
Oh yeah. And I like what you're saying of, then you can build in activities and family events to support those overall value structures. Exactly.
Because if you take it too far into like, this is the absolute rule of the land, you know, bend everyone to it, that's how you end up like being Amish. And it's like, you know, so like I think it's good. I think it's good to kind of like Ray said, a lot of family businesses have a constitution, you know, just like people getting more into using their own creative abilities to kind of draft these types of documents. And like this forces people to think through these things deeply, rather than kind of like, you know, for me, I get kind of like it's like, oh, name your goals, or like, why do you, I'm like, I don't know. But when you put your family into it, I feel like that gets a lot of people kind of paying attention in a way that's like personal and makes sense.
Oh yeah. Well, dude, I can tell you it's almost 100%. I mean, let's call it 97% of children know nothing about finance. And then they get into college, and then they open up credit cards so they can get a free t-shirt, right? Like that kind of stuff. That can easily free and pizza. Should be handled by the family.
Yeah, free pizza. They got me.
Oh yeah. No, me too. Me too. It's just crazy, but like that kind of stuff, where I do think a lot of our society, including myself, like falls on that's like, oh, school should teach that. It's like, yes. But they don't.
Yep.
Right, like that's the problem. Like the school system does not teach certain things like that right now. So like you either let your kid figure it out on its own until when he's like $8,000 in credit card debt, or you have some sort of family infrastructure to make sure that fills in the gaps that the school system doesn't.
Yeah, dude, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. I think people are kind of confronting this now because it's like, there's been a lot of stuff going on in schools and people are getting pulled out of schools and like, it's like, I think people did have that blind faith where they could just be like, all right, you're going to school. And now it's like, that's not really panning out that well for a lot of people. Like you were saying, across multiple dimensions, like financial literacy, emotional stability, like public school, like schools in general, public, even private, aren't exactly churning out financially responsible, emotionally stable beings. Like and it seems to be increasing. So that's kind of exactly what I'm talking about of like, and it's like, you can't just, scream at a school meeting. Obviously they're just not doing it. Like you were saying, you can cry all you want, but you have to do it. So it's like people taking more personal responsibility of just like, what do I actually want? Do I even know what I want to teach people? What do I want to teach myself? What if I were to set a class up like that? What would the curriculum be? And it's like, I used to say that all the time in social work school. It's like, if it's one thing to be like, this sucks, this is bullshit, but be like, well, what would you do? And it's like, I don't know. It's like really following that step through and being like, well, here's what I would do. And it's like, doing that within your family or just for yourself to start off at that point. If you want to have a family or even if you just want to get this shit, like, again, come from a deep place of meaning for your goals. Cause it's like, I'm telling you, man, once you tap into that, it's so much easier than just being like I've gone through it before with like, I used to like dislike a lot of the goal stuff because it just didn't really strike me as authentic. I would do it and I'd be like, list 5 words about yourself. And in my head, I don't care. But like, if I can put it in one of these contexts of like, this will help me, this will help my family. And that's just for me personally. Like, I'm not saying like that's the right way, but it's like when people are failing to find motivation, that's something I'm really interested in. I'm learning of like, how can you motivate people in ways that are like genuinely authentic to them? And it's like, so I've been really into that.
No, I agree. I think taking it to a higher level and saying like, because a lot of it for me was, okay, how do I earn the optimal spouse? And now what you're kind of bringing my attention to is like, okay, how do I earn my optimal spouse? And how do I build myself into the type of man who can then raise other men or women? God forbid if I have a female, I don't know what I'm going to do.
They're so cute, dude. They're so cute. You're going to love them.
That's why, that's all the discipline stuff's out the window, right? As soon as like,
if
Maya or my daughter, dude.
See that? I got scratched, dude. As soon as you get scratched, you're like, all right, this is fucking over.
What did you do in response?
I timeout. I put her in timeout.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, she's in trouble.
Yeah. So yeah, upping the level of this is not for me. It is for others, especially those others who are in my immediate family and who will be in my future immediate family.
Yeah, exactly. For me, it's a little more. For me, that's more motivating, to be honest.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense.
It's kind of cool. I don't know. Maybe it's like, it's kind of like the same pressure. Like people do have pressure to have kids. Maybe it's like biological, so like that their genes like move to the future, but like it does the same thing for your actions. It's like, all right, this stuff is going to like not just peter out. It's going to keep moving forward. Hopefully, if I can do this correctly. Yeah. So, but yeah, I love that idea. Sorry.
Yeah. Is there anything that comes to top of mind of like, okay, if you did have a certain number of commandments for Maya and your future family, what would some of those be?
That's a good question. The first one would be to find something that you love to do. Like, that's something I'm really going to hammer into them. It's like, don't just go through the motions. We're not going to do this kind of like, because I did that when I was younger. I would just kind of bullshit around. It's like, find something you really, and I think parents should help kids do this, pay attention to what they really gravitate towards. But it's like, find something you really, really, really like to do. Number one, like, don't just go through the motions. Don't just unthinkingly be like, yeah, I'd be like, dude, like in college, I was like, I'm going to be a business major and I'm going to make $100,000 a year. It's like, that was my plan. That's it. That's all. That's the only plan I had. I'm going to make $100,000 a year. It's fucking stupid. It made no sense. I mean, it's great. It's a cool goal to have, but it's like, it was not a intrinsic goal. I was just like, that would be sweet. And that was the end of my thinking. So to like find something you really love to do. Cause it's like, there's no comparison of like doing something you love to do while you're here versus being like, yeah, that'd be sick if I got a raise. You know, and again, it's awesome. You need a raise, you need money, you need I'm not downplaying it, but like without having a reason that like truly resonates within you.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, and you can find, I genuinely believe people can find that, or at least try, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah. Is there anything else that comes to mind?
I mean, that would be one in terms of like the personal stuff. And then the other one would just be, a lot of it would just be around kind of getting some sort of mind state of like, you know, moving towards things that make you uncomfortable, you know, like the avoidance stuff would be kind of hammered out, like no avoiding things just because blah, blah, blah. So it'd be find something you love to do. Don't avoid things that make you uncomfortable, and try to be mindful, you know, throughout try to cultivate like a mindful mindset. Yeah.
And this would probably be an interesting exercise for the guys. I'm actually going to, I might even work on this outside of this conversation. You know, mine for sure would be create value, like be committed to creating value always. And I like that because I wish somebody would have told me that when I was like a kid. But you can start creating value in your household, not from day one, but as soon as you're able to start cleaning up your own toys and throwing out your own dishes if they're paper plates, etc. So that, and then financial health and emotional health. I had a meeting last week with a client who I very, very much respect, and their family's worth a boatload of money. And I was meeting with what I would consider to be like the matriarch of the family. And apparently there was a big blow up over, something silly, right? They're just like logistical plans of the family. And then somebody messed up those plans. So one of the people in that family, who is, I think, like close to 50 years old, like burst into tears and ran out of the room, and I give so much credit to my client because she was like, she called up this person who she's related to and said, there is no excuse for you to behave like that at your age.
Yeah.
Right. And like, she's absolutely correct. She's like if you don't have an emotional equilibrium around family logistics on an event, which should be all upside, right? Yeah. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. There's going to be another family event. If you don't have enough of an emotional equilibrium, like then what else can you not handle?
Yeah.
So that's just an example. Like emotional health and emotional stability for all of us is an absolute must. An absolute must.
There's a let me say, damn, I wish I could find this. There is a definition. I have this book here because I was using it for something. But there's a definition of like emotional health. Because you know what's funny? There's not really, if you look up the definition of sanity, there's not really, we don't have like a very clear understanding. It's not like, here's specifically what it is. It's like, it just says soundness of mind. It's just like, all right. So, but it's not very specific. It's like, all right, I can get my mind sound. But I think this is a good idea of like what you're describing in like granular terms. So it says to demonstrate, think of a person who is able to experience both pleasant and painful private experiences directly without struggle or defense, who at the same time can stay in the present moment and be mindfully self-aware of self-narratives that might interfere with effective action, and who can also connect with core personal values in life and direct problem-solving efforts in line with those values. Pretty good.
Yeah, I like that. Yep.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Because that's something we don't really have like in a lot of the other cultures. They have these things called like enlightenment, satori. Like they have like these ideal states of mind you can work to cultivate, and they have these steps like take step A, B, and C. I feel like we don't have that per se. I'd be curious what you think, but it's like we don't really focus on the health aspect of it, other than just avoid these things, like avoid depression, avoid anxiety, avoid And it's like I wonder like what that would look like for here in the West of like what is our ideal state of mental health and function.
Yeah. So for me, I know I get caught, like I focus a lot on this in terms of workability. So I don't think there is any right or wrong absent a final goal or group of goals. Because then if there's no final group of goals or singular goal or North Star, then everything is negotiable. Oh, like, why do I need to do that? Like, I can just go in and meditate for my entire life. And there's entire cohorts of people who do that. And I completely disagree with that.
Sure.
I think humans are meant to make progress. They're meant to be in pursuit of something. So then once you define what those are, like you and I talk about all the time, like define what you want, now it's like, okay, now there's stakes on the table. So now that those stakes are on the table and this is what I want, which by the way takes balls to say that out loud to people, right? Because then you could lose.
Sure.
But I think that makes life worth living, like the fact that you could lose something. Okay, so then it's like, okay, in order to attain those, how can I give myself the highest probability? Well, if I start crying over something and run out of the room, I can now no longer accomplish my objective. So it's not workable, right? You have a mismatch of circumstance with emotional output. And when that, like I see it all the time, when that happens, you lose the game.
Yep.
Right now, I don't think it's taken as far as like never have emotion. It's like, no, have calibrated proper emotion. If the building is on fire and your goal is to survive, then you better scream, like at yourself and at other people. But that is a properly calibrated emotion. Because if you don't, then it's unworkable on the other side. Like you didn't have the proper emotion, so you burn you and your family to death.
Yeah.
So I think it's all about that calibration personally. Define what you want, calibrate the emotional states to get there, because emotions are unbelievably important, right? Like you and I have both played sports our entire lives. The reason that you can run up and down the field 500 times and keep on wanting to do it is because of the emotional calibration to doing that.
Yep.
But if you run that same adrenaline spike when the coffee spills on the table, then you're not emotionally healthy. Like that's it in my opinion.
No, that makes sense. So being able to calibrate the kind of output, and then if it is kind of going above and beyond, just kind of, I guess, figuring out why that's the case and dealing with that without having other people have to kind of mop that up for you. Yeah,
exactly. And, I'm just, because I'm hot on the jiu-jitsu thing now, like, it's perfect analogy. Like, last week when I was rolling or sparring, whatever you want to call it, with somebody, I was exerting energy when I should not have been. Mm-hmm. Like I was gripping the hell out of his gi, and therefore, like when it mattered most, I had no more strength in my hands.
Yep.
Because I was not properly calibrated to the certain circumstances. Versus, like when I watch black belts do it, it's like I swear, part of like their fighting is almost sleeping.
Dude,
right? If you look like perfect, they're just like kind of like they're just like lightly playing, and then all of a sudden when they notice something, it's like boom, right? It's like calibrated emotion, spot on.
Yeah, man. No, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I think it's accurate too, man. Being able to figure that out, and I guess maybe I'm searching for like an underlying thread of the whole thing, but I would feel like this is kind of more of a mindset thing of like that we're discussing. It's like, how do you kind of keep yourself oriented, and how do you? Because I'm just hopping back on the horse. I told you like last week, the wedding, traveling to all these weddings. I've been going back and forth. I got to go to New York today. It like throws off my daily routine, and when I get thrown off my routine, it's hard for me to get back on. But that's why I started thinking about like the mindset stuff really helps me like kind of get the energy levels up, get fired up, and kind of get like disciplined around things. And but yeah, so that's what I'm doing right now, and I've been enjoying it, man. I've been enjoying kind of like getting like now that I've gotten knocked off my kind of schedule, I'm gonna when I'm jumping back on, I'm gonna make it more intense, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna like start scheduling.
Can you repeat that?
So I got kind of knocked off my schedule and had a nice little thing going, but I'm going now that I'm coming back to it. I'm gonna start scheduling my time out even more like down to the minute, if that makes sense. Like before, I was kind of doing a list with like a time next to it, but I'm getting myself ready for 2022 now. Like I'm gonna start mapping out usually I'd map it out all in like one day. I'm gonna actually start mapping it out like now, so that like all the stuff makes sense. I can really kind of customize 2022. Like 2021 was great, but 2022 is I think going to be my busiest year ever so far. So
hell yeah,
I'm going to really map that out. So again, like you were saying, Wes, I totally agree. It's like get in what you can this year, like sprint past the finish line. But like I'm really going to try to map that 2022 out very well, because it's going to be busy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I have found, just to throw one thing out there, I have actually found that doing my taxes, and I would suggest this as an exercise to anybody who has not done it, go through the exercise of doing your taxes and forcing yourself to come up with a final conclusion. How much money did you make? How much money should you pay in taxes? And so on. Going through that, and I swear it is a life-changing transformational process. Number one, because most people have no idea about taxes. Number two, most people have no idea where their money's going, why it's going, and so on. But like, go through the process of every single month. Act like you own your own business, first of all. Like, act like you own your own business. Go through every single month. What did you spend on what, and what was the final numbers? Here was my income. Here was my expenses. Here's my taxation on that income, right? Like, as crazy as it sounds, man, I swear, like, once I go through that process, the amount of control and power that gives me personally is unbelievable, right? So that's just one example of an exercise that men could go through, and it's the utility of it is I can't think of too many things higher that give more utility. Having mastery over your money management. We're not even talking about like investing. We're just talking about mastering the management of your money, man. And you will probably see how deficient you are via that exercise.
Oh yeah.
You know, like, some people don't understand the tax system. They're like, oh, like, I hate taxes. It's like, okay, how much do you pay? And it's like, well, it's like, no, that's not the answer. Like, how much do you pay? Right. And like, do you know that money in the US, at least, we've got a tiered system. So money drips. So anyway, just going through that process, where as a man, in my opinion, one of the key weapons that we have and swords we kind of have to like weld ourselves is the mastery of finances. And you can't master finances until you actually master the management of your own money.
Yeah, man. Even at a month,
just something to throw out there.
You start seeing those smoothie trips, and you're like, damn, I spent how much in smoothies this month? And you're like, fuck, dude. It's pretty crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Just like the little bullshit that adds up, and it's like, yeah, no, dude, I totally agree.
Yeah. Even the tweak, like, it'll force you to think, like, a lot of people tell me, like, oh, I make $100,000 a year, or I make $50,000 a year. I talked to a CPA, an accountant about this, and this blew her mind. She's like, I make $100,000 a year. I was like, no, you don't. And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, you're a CPA. You obviously know this. You do not make $100,000 a year. You make 70-ish thousand a year. And this girl, she was 33 years old. She's like, you're right. Right. Just because we don't think about that. Right. It's like, no, you only make what you take home.
Yeah.
Right. So, but all of her decisions and most of our decisions are based off of the number they gave us in the job offer. Right. Like, oh, I make 100K so I can afford it. It's like, no, you make 70.
Yep.
Let's start from there. I just took 30,000 away from you.
Yep. And it goes to kind of show that the person's more oriented in like the conversational aspect of their income. Like, I make $100,000 a year. It's like, well, sort of. Yeah. Yeah. No, dude, I fucking love that. Also, someone's asking if you use any app or program to make it easier to organize. I know with the using, I think I use the credit card thing. I just check the credit card. What would you say to use to like organize and view your spending and shit?
Yeah. So I use, and Matt, this is what, like what your investments are all put through. So we use something called eMoney. I pay $6,000 a year for it. I'm not suggesting anybody go and do that, but it's sort of like higher end financial software. It's nothing too crazy, but it does map all of that. There are other apps you can use like Mint and so on. Though the only issue with those types of things, if you're not going to pay for it, you get a whole bunch of ads, and like then it'll tell you like, oh, go invest in this. Like there's just ads. Like, so just be careful of that. But yes, there's many apps that you can use there. Mint is one of the ones that comes to mind that I think is still probably free.
Nice. That's pretty cool. I would say it's worth it, even if you got to pay like $20-$30 a month, man. It really does.
Oh, without
You'll
a
end
doubt.
up saving that just by being cognizant of like getting that readout. That's really nice to get that kind of readout every month and look at it and be like categorized. Like, all right, what I spent on this, what I spent on that, and it's pretty tight. Yeah.
So what I do for mine, just in case anybody's wondering, everything goes through that main software. I then go and label all the transactions, but it's smart software. So if I say, hey, every time you see Target, label it as toiletries and clothing or whatever. So it'll do that in the future. But I still go through every single month, if not every single week, and identify those things. I extract all that data, put it into Excel, put it into pivot tables, etc. You don't have to go all that extra length, but I'm telling you, it makes you so much more present to your own reality.
Yeah.
Like they say, if you want to learn something about a man, watch where he spends his money and watch where he puts his time, his footsteps, and his money. And money, it's so fascinating because you can't argue with it. Like the amount of people that I do this exercise with, and they come back and they say, this can't be right. Right? Like, I could not have spent $30,000 over the last like 2 months. It's like, yeah, you did it. Like, unless you're
Here it
saying
is.
there's some fraudulent transactions, which there's not, right? Like, this is exactly what you did. So you
It's
will
crazy.
see how far of a chasm there is between your behavior and what you think your behavior is.
Yeah, man, dude, it's insane. And it's just kind of nice because then you get like an actual, you demystify the whole situation and it becomes so much easier. You're like, okay, like, because I'll do the opposite where I'm like, I can't spend any money. And I'm looking, I'm like, oh, I can. I should go get this thing versus, you know, or the more likely one or the thing I used to do more where I'm like, I'm good. And all of a sudden you see that credit card every month, dude. I would just find, my version of this is I just live my life and see my credit card bill every month and go, no, no. I mean, that's not right. And I look at it, I'm like, I recognize all of these purchases. And I'm like, fuck. It's like, yeah, dude, couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and then you just imagine where other areas of your life where you're having that same delusion. Like, oh, yeah, I eat healthy. Really?
Yeah.
If I were to show you your role, right, like, you know, oh, you go to the gym a lot, you work out a lot, you be positive about that, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
It's fascinating. That's why I love finance, man, because it's like, it's just numbers. There is no arguing about it. There's no squishy area. It's like it's binary. You did it or you did not.
Exactly. No, dude, I totally agree. Well, dude, what's the plan for this week? I'm about to get on the road.
Yep. Oh, cool, man. Good luck. All the stuff, like, I'm wrapping out the year. Funny enough, like, I have to finish my own accounting. I'm done my accounting up until last week. So I got to finish my accounting for the year, and that's just like a meditative process for me. Finishing the videos, and then I'm going to finish Rhomas U. Like that before the end of this year will be fucking done. And that's it. These videos are taking a shitload of time. Like, actually creating a high-end YouTube video. Yeah, I can't wait to get it out. It's gonna suck shit, but I can't wait to get it out there. It's been such a fucking fascinating, awesome process. Terribly frustrating, but it's been awesome.
Hell yeah, man! I'm excited to see it. But yeah, this week I am just hopping back in the horse. I have my last wedding for a while. I got to go to Florida this weekend, but I'll during the day I should be pretty open. So I'm gonna do kind of that system we were talking about before, where it's like one day I'm going to work on this project, next day work on this project, still go to the gym and do all that other stuff. So this week will be a good test of that, and hopefully coming up this year I should have some projects rolling out that I'm excited about. But you know, I'm still I'm taking you up on that of like kind of branching out and getting my stuff out there. Oh,
dude, so. I think you deserve it, and I think it should be your obligation because of what you can teach other people.
It'll be fun. Yeah, it'll be a good time.
No pressure.
No, dude, I appreciate it. So I'm gonna start really operating like I've done good getting myself from zero to like slightly organized. Now the push in 2022 is to get like just on the nose of just, you know, functioning at a high level. So.
Hell yeah.
We'll see.
And Matthew Bland, you are welcome, sir. I think he said he's using Capital One 360. So congratulations. Yeah, you're certainly welcome. And Matt, awesome, dude. You're super grinding it out, and good luck on the trip to New York, buddy.
Thank you, brother. All right, man.
All right, dudes. Have a great week.
Later on.
Later.